They came expecting kneeling. What they got was silence, the kind that tightens the air before a storm. Above Earth, the Zarkathi Imperium hung in low orbit like a blade ready to fall. 50 warships, gleaming with obsidian hulls and golden command, crests, formed a line across the atmosphere. Their engines hummed with power drawn from miniature stars. To the Zarkathi, this was routine. Conquest number 92. Another backward world to subjugate. From the command deck of the dreadnought Shakalvar, High Warlord Veskthar watched Earth's surface turn slowly below. "They do not answer?" he growled, three jaws clenching in frustration. "No, Warlord. No transmissions. No response. Nothing but planetary silence." Veskthar bared his fangs in irritation. "Then we give them one final offer. Broadcast the ultimatum again. 1. Last time. The transmission pulsed across every frequency. It wasn't a question. It was a sentence. Earth, surrender your weapons, territories, and leadership within one solar cycle. Refusal will result in total cleansing. You have 36 hours. On Earth, the signal played across shattered satellites and hijacked screens. Civilians saw it in Times Square, in the tunnels of Tokyo, on the walls of Brazilian favelas. Panic erupted. Was Earth truly defenseless? But in Greenland, buried under miles of glacial ice, the real Earth listened and said nothing. Inside Site 09, General David Sharp stood before a matte black operations table. His face was calm. The room around him was humming. AI strategists forming predictions, orbital data being crunched, classified protocols lighting up. "They're impatient," Sharp said softly. "Impatience leads to mistakes." An aide, young and clearly nervous, stepped forward. "Sir, public channels are demanding a response. News networks are leaking data. We need to reassure the population." Sharp's eyes didn't leave the table. "No, let them fear. Fear hardens resolve." Another officer spoke. "Sir, they've sent a cruiser into low atmosphere. Reconnaissance, likely scanning for response systems." Sharp smiled thinly. "Let them come closer." In orbit, the Zarkathi recon cruiser Veltok dipped just past the thermosphere, its scanners probing. The alien commander noted strange irregularities in the Amazon basin, heat signatures buried beneath jungle canopies. Then, static. A pulse, a flash, no missile, no impact. The Veltok simply vanished, sucked into a spherical collapse of light and gravity. On the Shakalvar, alarms shrieked. "What happened?" Veskthar barked. "Unknown. One moment it was there, next, gone. No known weapon matches this." And then, without warning, every Zarkathi ship received a single tight beam signal, broadcast in perfect Zarkathi dialect. Test received. Preparing countermeasure. And then, nothing. No war declaration. No threat. Just pure, glacial silence, the kind that comes right before the lightning hits. Veskthar stepped back from the console, suddenly unsure. "What are these creatures?" He looked down at Earth. It no longer looked soft. It looked silent. It looked ready. And above, the first hidden Terran warships began to wake. They thought Earth was stalling. They didn't know it was calculating. For 12 hours after the warning, the Zarkathi fleet maintained orbital formation. Nervous comm chatter grew. Some commanders demanded immediate orbital bombardment. Others urged caution. The High Warlord waited because in all his campaigns he had never seen this. A death world that didn't bluff, didn't scream, didn't respond. Earth remained silent. Then something shifted at the edge of the solar system. Zarkathi long-range sensors caught a flicker, an anomaly beyond Neptune's orbit. Dismissed as solar radiation at first. Then another. Then 5. Then 12. The anomalies were moving. Fast. Back aboard the Shakalvar, the command AI issued a tone not heard in centuries. Priority red tactical uncertainty. "Warlord," said a shaken officer, "we have incoming, unidentified objects, accelerating toward us at 0.3 light speed from Kuiper Belt range. What kind of objects? The reply came a moment later. They're Terran ships, sir, but there are no heat signatures, no engine trails, just gravity wakes. That was impossible. No civilization could cloak ships that completely. Unless space. Just outside Earth's orbit tore open, 50 black-hulled ships dropped from folded space, uncurling like serpents from the void. Terran Deep Fleet, Ashborn Division. Coated in radar-absorbing alloys and shaped like shards of night, they had been hiding in the shadows for months. Each one bore the same crimson insignia, a flaming skull wrapped in orbit lines. The Zarkathi fleet spun into high alert. Then the Deep Fleet opened fire. Not with missiles, not with lasers, with gravitic spears, space-time lances that pierced enemy hulls without ever triggering alarms. Zarkathi ships ruptured mid-sentence. Bridge crews were atomized before they could scream. The Zarkathi 7th dreadnought buckled in, on itself as something invisible crawled through its systems. A Terran infiltration AI, Nix protocol, seeded months before during a previous peaceful scan. It hijacked the dreadnought's core reactor and overrode manual control. The ship turned, slowly, then fired full bore into its sister vessel. On Earth, across buried war bunkers, Terran commanders watched the destruction like a chessboard catching fire. Commander Sharp folded his arms. They moved. We respond, and AI next to him lit up. Should I wake Cora Vale? Sharp's voice was steel. Yes, it's her fleet now. In the black expanse beyond Mars, Admiral Cora Vale, long thought dead, opened her eyes in cryo. Her face was scarred, her body half machine. She remembered only two things: the day Earth was threatened, and the promise she made to never let it happen again. Her ship, the Obsidian Saint, turned toward the battlefield. Thousands of Terran drones activated like swarming hornets, unfolding wings of plasma. No words, no broadcast, just one final action: fire. And for the first time in their galactic conquests, the Zarkathi realized they weren't fighting primitives, they were fighting monsters forged in silence. You don't build fleets in peace, you forge them in vengeance. Across the upper orbit of Earth, the Zarkathi fleet spiraled into chaos. What had begun as a one-sided siege was now unraveling into a massacre. Human ships, sleek, wingless, matte black, moved like shadows through space. Their thrusters were cold, their weapons unrecognizable. They didn't fire like the Zarkathi. They unfolded violence. Each Terran vessel bore the same burning insignia, Ashborn Division. And at their helm, Admiral Cora Vale, once presumed dead, now reborn as the ghost of Earth's vengeance. In the command core of the Obsidian Saint, Cora stood motionless, her neural rig sunk deep into the AI interface. Her left eye flickered with data. Her right hand was gone, replaced with a carbon weave prosthetic humming with heat. All wings mark targets, execute silence protocol. Thousands of Terran drones activated at once, scattering like embers caught in a solar wind. They weren't ordinary drones. They moved with swarm intelligence, learning from each other's strikes in real time. A Zarkathi frigate tried to flee. It didn't get far. The drones punctured its hull with ceramic needles, then released magnetized plasma into its systems. The ship screamed once, then tore apart from within. On the Shakalvar, High Warlord Veskthar watched in disbelief. These ships, they're not standard Earth vessels. Their weapons don't match any known schematic. They're not Earth Defense Fleet, a shaken technician murmured. There's something else, something older, another officer added. Many of these ship IDs were listed as destroyed in prior centuries, but they're here. It was then that Veskthar understood. Earth hadn't built this fleet for defense. It had buried it, hidden it, waiting in Earth's deep archives, places no alien had ever seen. Recordings flickered to life. Files marked, Project Ashborn, do not unseal without global extinction risk. Admiral Cora Vale had once warned the Earth Council, you don't plan for, peace. You plan for what follows silence. She was exiled for that. Now, she was humanity's blade. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Terran warships conducted kinetic jumps, slinging themselves at relativistic speeds across short distances, turning themselves into mass weapons without ever firing a shot. Entire Zarkathi carriers burst like rotten fruit on impact. Every strike came without warning, every kill without a sound. And still, Earth did not speak. No broadcast, no declaration, only fire, only ghosts. Vesk Thar fell to one knee as another. Report arrived. Half the fleet is gone. Our reinforcements won't arrive for 2 cycles. We're being erased. For the first time in his long, merciless reign, the High Warlord felt something foreign, doubt. Because in all their wars, they had never faced silence sharpened into a sword. They thought Earth's fury ended in orbit, but humanity doesn't just fight in space, it fights in the blood and bone of worlds. The Zarkathi Imperium, reeling from orbital slaughter, activated Plan Eviscerate, land and subdue protocols. Multiple dropships detached from their crippled warfleet, aiming for Europa, Jupiter's frozen moon and home to vital Terran outposts. Europa's surface looked quiet, still, empty, a mistake. They landed amid the icy plains, white winds howling, methane, fog crawling between steel outcroppings. Thermal scans showed nothing living. Radiation was high. Electromagnetic noise distorted sensors. It felt abandoned. Then the ice cracked, and humanity rose. From beneath Europa's crust, Terran cryomarines burst through with jet-assisted jumps, armored, in ablative plating that shimmered like oil over obsidian. They didn't shout. They didn't hesitate. Their weapons weren't bullets or beams, but shock blades, crackling with vibrating gravity fields that shredded armor like paper. The Zarkathi forces reeled. But the worst was yet to come. A Zarkathi war beast, 8-legged, 20 tons, laser-mounted, charged the ice ridge. Sergeant Kira Rune, her face scarred with frostbite and plasma burns, stood in its path. She tapped twice on her left forearm. Her suit ignited, its kinetic frame pulsing with orange plasma. She leapt up over and came down like a thunderbolt. Her blade pierced the beast's armored skull. Electricity danced across its limbs. It convulsed once. Then it died. Behind her, her unit moved like shadows. Europa belonged to the Ashborn now. Above, Terran satellites aligned. A signal passed. Deep within Europa's crust, old failsafes awakened. Project Pelagus. Geothermal mine lattices laid a decade ago for emergencies only. Europa's mantle surged. Geysers erupted. Massive crust plates, once dormant, collapsed. Zarkathi drop cities vanished into boiling fissures. The ice moon howled like a wounded god, and still, no message came from Earth, no mercy, just the crack of ice and fire beneath it. Inside the obsidian, St. Admiral Cora Vale watched the icy moon fracture through drone feed. "Let them learn," she whispered, voice like frost. "We don't just burn from above. We break planets if we must." Her AI, NYX, chimed softly. "Zarkathi command is attempting. Retreat orders," Cora smiled. "Let them run. Let them tell their worlds what they found under our silence." On the ground, Zarkathi survivors crawled from craters, dazed, bloodied, whispering to each other in fear. Not about Earth's weapons, not about its technology, but about its soldiers, its ghosts of ice. High above, Warlord Vesk Thar watched the feed in horror. His advisors stood silent. A single word appeared on his ship's monitor. Not from Earth, but from the deep systems of the Obsidian Saint. Europa is ash. Next is Earth's sky. They came to dominate the skies of Earth. But now ash falls from orbit, and it's their own. The remains of the Zarkathi fleet drifted above Earth like scattered bones in black water. Burning wreckage painted streaks of fire across the upper atmosphere. Cities below watched as falling debris turned night to dawn, a sunrise of war. In Times Square, crowds stood frozen beneath emergency alerts. In Beijing's bunkered sublevels, citizens gathered around blast doors whispering prayers. From Johannesburg to Reykjavik, the skies wept fire. And still, Earth made no global address, no declaration of victory, no gloating, only silence. And defense systems that never stopped charging. High Warlord Vesk Thar stood on the fractured command bridge of the Shakalvar, bleeding from a gash across his shoulder. His ornate armor, once gold and polished obsidian, was now scorched and cracked. "How many remain?" he barked. A frightened tech officer replied, "7 ships, Warlord, out of 50, and the Terrans have ceased pursuit, but we intercepted something, a transmission." He played it, not a voice. A song, ancient Earth music, low, melodic, wordless, playing across the void. It wasn't for communication. It was a warning. On the far side of Earth's orbit, Cora Vale stared through the observation glass of the Obsidian Saint. Below her, the wounded blue planet turned slowly, scarred, defiant, beautiful. A voice hummed in her neural feed. It was Nyx, her ship's AI. Orbital scans complete. No further Zarkathi reinforcements detected in range. "Good," Cora whispered. "Then it's time. Time to send the message they'd all been waiting for." Inside Site 09's Earth Corps Command, General David Sharp stepped forward. The room darkened. A holographic globe of Earth flickered to life. He pressed one button. Dozens of black satellites in near-Earth orbit turned, snapping open like flowers in bloom. Each one aimed not outward, but inward. On the Shakalvar, the Zarkathi screamed, as alarms blared again. What are they doing? Are they attacking their own planet? "No, Warlord," the technician said, trembling. "They're locking us out of every possible angle. They're painting Earth with their weapons." A beat of silence. "We are no longer the invaders," the Warlord muttered. "We are the prey." Then the barrage began. The Terran sky grid fired, not just weapons, but jamming lances, gravitic bends, rail point scatter arrays. The very air above Earth shimmered with deadly interference. One Zarkathi ship tried to descend. Its hull twisted sideways mid-atmosphere and disintegrated into molten rain. Another tried to flee upward. It was caught mid-escape by 3 Ashborne cruisers, ripped in half. Its pieces burned like shooting. Stars. And below, the people of Earth finally understood. Their skies were defended not by shields, but by wrath. Inside the Obsidian Saint, Cora Vale turned to her crew. "Now we wait," she said. "They'll send something bigger next time." Nyx pulsed softly. "Will we survive?" Cora smiled darkly. "We're human. We don't survive." She looked out the viewport. "We endure, and we return fire." The Zarkathi lost ships, lost soldiers, lost pride. So now they sent something they never had to before. A god. The deep space rift opened without warning. It wasn't like a warp gate. It didn't shimmer or hum. It screamed. A black gash. In the cosmos, pulsing like a wound in reality itself. From it came one vessel. It dwarfed the ruined fleet. Longer than Earth's moon. Coated in ivory plating scarred by forgotten wars. Its gravity distorted the stars behind it. It carried no escort. It didn't need one. The Zarkathi called it Relzun, the world mind. A living battleship. Part machine, part ancient creature, forged in the first conquests of their empire. It had only ever been used once, against a sun-worshipping species that refused surrender. That species is now extinct. And now, Relzun turned its gaze toward Earth. Inside the Obsidian Saint, alarms lit up like firecrackers. Nyx's voice trembled, not out of fear but calculation. Unparalleled mass signature detected. Energy fields, impossible to quantify. Hull integrity, layered dimensional plates. Origin, pre-Empire era. Estimated survival chance against direct confrontation, 4.2%. Cora Vale stood slowly, her neural link retracting from her spine. "They sent a god," she whispered. Nyx responded. "They sent a mistake." Earth watched in silence as the colossal entity entered orbit. It didn't fire. It didn't broadcast. It simply opened and descended a figure. Not a machine. Not an alien. A being. Thalzek, firstborn of the flame, stepped down onto Earth's surface in a pillar of white light. 15 feet tall, wreathed in gold armor that flowed like molten lava. A living construct. A psychic echo. And in its hands it carried a spear forged from neutronium, tipped with a fragment of a collapsed star. It walked onto the ruins of Europa's forward base, as if mocking Earth. And it spoke, not in Zarkathi, not in sound, but in minds. You are animals with fire. You have wounded the divine. Surrender now, and be catalogued. But humanity doesn't kneel to gods. The reply came from Earth's oldest defense bunker, deep beneath the Andes. A single human stepped forward, escorted by black-armored Ashborn soldiers, Commander Erin Kane, the only surviving field general, from Earth's first contact war. Her spine was fused with quantum links, her lungs replaced after orbital exposure. Her blood, mixed with trace amounts of dark matter from a failed Zarkathi bomb. She was more than human now. She raised her weapon, a rail hammer built to pierce planetary crust, and she said just one thing into the global feed. We've killed gods before. Then, she fired. The spear of Thalzek met the hammer in midair. The shockwave turned sand into glass across 2 continents, and so began Earth's battle not for survival, but for dominion. When the divine descended, they expected worship. What they found was war. And Earth's hammer struck first. The impact zone was still glowing. All of South America felt the quake. Shockwaves rippled through tectonic plates. Across the Andes, mountains cracked like brittle shells. In space, Relzun's orbit distorted as seismic echoes rose into orbit, a planetary backlash against the god it sent. But neither Thalzek nor Commander Erin Kane was dead. They stood in a crater a mile wide, each staggered, but alive. Thalzek's golden armor cracked at the chest, molten light leaking through. Kane's hammer was fractured. Her suit blinked red warnings. Her breathing was labored, but she stood. Impressive, the god construct boomed, its voice now sounding through the air for the first time. You carry your ancestors' rage, but rage alone cannot kill me. Kane smirked through bloodied teeth. Who said I came? Alone? Above, Earth's sky parted. From the stratosphere, the Svalin drop core activated, an orbital kinetic delivery system meant only for extinction-level threats. It hadn't been used in centuries, until now. The first spike dropped. $20,000 tons of alloyed tungsten aimed at Thalzek's position. Like a god's own sword, it plunged through cloud and air. Thalzek raised his spear and caught it, but he staggered. A second spike followed, then a third. Then came the swarm. Ashborn war cruisers emerged from subspace folds, each unleashing drop pods of advanced infantry, humans bred for gravity-heavy worlds, bone-armored, mind-linked, carrying weapons that ate sound and left silence. The air filled with streaks of fire and falling men. The battle became chaos. Kane launched forward, broken, hammer in hand. The Ashborn's assault gave her an opening. She drove what remained of the weapon straight into the crack in Thalzek's armor and detonated the fusion core inside it. The explosion lit up the sky for hundreds of miles. The god construct staggered, howling in frequencies not meant for mortal ears. Its golden armor shattered in chunks. Limbs of fire and circuitry collapsed, twitching. Kane dropped to one knee. Then something unexpected happened. The god fell. On the obsidian saint, Admiral Cora Vale leaned forward. He's down, whispered Nix. Do we strike again? No, Cora said, eyes narrowed. We let them see him broken first, let the Imperium watch their immortal burn. On board the orbiting Relzun, the world mind paused. For the first time in its eons of calculation, a new variable appeared. Loss. The once impossible was now statistical. Thalzek, the flame-born, the unstoppable, was beaten. Not by overwhelming power, not by divine force, but by human will, and they were just getting started. Above Earth, new Ashborn vessels began warping in. Earth wasn't alone anymore. The fracture protocol had been activated from Mars, from Titan, from the asteroid belts, from hidden stations buried inside planetary cores. Humanity was no longer reacting. It was assembling. As Thalzek's dying flame sputtered out, he looked up into the falling dark and whispered, "What are you?" Erin Kane leaned in close. Her voice, hoarse and electric, replied, "We're the reason your empire ends." The galaxy had grown fat on Earth's silence. Now it would choke on the sound of humanity's return. Thalzek's body still smoldered. Molten gold pooled around his broken armor. His star-forged spear, shattered into 5 pieces, hissed as it cooled on the frozen stone. Above, the battle for Earth's sky had changed. It wasn't a slaughter anymore. It was an announcement. The world-mind Relzun watched in silence. Earth didn't attack it, didn't even acknowledge it. Instead, they broadcast. A signal was sent from the Obsidian Saint. Not to allies, not to Earth alone, but to every system in the known galaxy. It wasn't a plea, it was a declaration. Across every star-spanning empire, thousands of alien species saw the feed, clear and undistorted. No translators, no banners, just a single human, bloodied, armored, eyes like burning coal, standing before the corpse of the Zarkathi god, Commander Erin Kane. Her voice was calm. Her message brutal. "We didn't ask for this war. You demanded surrender. You murdered civilians. You erased cities." She turned and gestured to the broken construct behind her. "You sent your god. Now send whoever you pray to next." The screen went black, but a final message scrolled across in every language ever known. "Earth is not yours. We were quiet. Now listen." On the Zarkathi homeworld, panic spread like wildfire. Warlords turned on each other. Prophets wept. News of Thalzek's death and Relzun's silence fractured the illusion of Zarkathi dominance. No one had ever beaten their god weapon. Until Earth, and the worst part, the Terrans were just getting started. Inside the Obsidian Saint, Nyx ran simulations, orbital data, hypotheses. But one prediction held: Zarkathi counterstrike probability, 92.7% within 2 standard weeks. Coravale nodded. "Then we hit first." Across the Terran Alliance, humanity moved. Operation Echo Fire initiated. Sleeper fleets activated from hidden asteroid vaults. AI dreadnoughts woke from black box hibernation. Dark energy weapons banned, even by Terran law, were quietly loaded onto Ashborn command ships. Mars declared open war. Luna lit up with shipyards overnight. Jupiter's moon sent forward stealth fleets. The humans were not defending anymore. They were preparing to invade, and deep within the fractured mind of Relzun, the sentient god vessel itself, a tremor echoed. A human virus injected through. Kane's hammer strike spread through its neural lattice. A final gift. The world mind saw visions it was never meant to see. Burning skies, broken chains, children born under stars that didn't fear gods, humanity, unshackled, relentless, rising, and then a single line of text appeared within its mind, unauthorized. Silence was a mercy. Fire is the future. The galaxy had always spoken over Earth. Now Earth spoke back with steel, fire, and fury, and this time, everyone was listening. End.